Welcome to the Vernon Hills Update. The update offers information about a variety of village services. You'll meet a few of your neighbors and you'll find out about upcoming events. On today's show, we'll talk with Village Manager John Kelmar about the village budget process, the impact of the state actions on available revenue, and a number of development projects around town. We'll check in with Public Works Director Dave Brown to learn about this year's snow and ice plan and cover some important reminders about dealing with our own snow. And we'll hop on the Vernon Hills Senior Shuttle to learn about this free service to residents ages 55 and older. We'll also outline other public transportation options available to Vernon Hills residents. Thank you for tuning into the Vernon Hills Update.
Well, since it's January, it's a good time to kind of take a look at the state of the village of Vernon Hills, and who better to help us than Village Manager John Kelmar. And we're here to talk a little bit about what the village has in store. We'll look back a little bit about how things are going. But one of the main things to start this off is your kind of village staff and elected officials. You're in kind of that budget season already. Although the fiscal year doesn't end for a bit, you're already heavy into that.
Right. We actually begin our budget process in the late fall. October, November is when we begin to talk about capital projects and capital improvements and those types of things. We've already presented one list of capital improvements in the 5-year plan to the village board in early November. So, but that's the start of about a 5-month process that ends on May 1 when the board ultimately adopts the what will be the 2018-2019 budget. So lots of work. Staff spends a lot of time with their teams developing next year's budget. Internally, myself and the finance director work on what we believe to be revenue projections for the coming year and what those challenges might be. And then we work together with the staff to present a preliminary budget that will go to the board in late February, with budget hearings being held in March.
So when we talk budget hearings, that's when people from the community can come in and voice their concerns, that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And the budget hearings are typically the staff members presenting their individual budgets and the board asking questions and giving direction one way or the other. We encourage residents at any time, if they have budget questions or concerns, to reach out to us and ask those questions. And if there are projects or improvements that they'd like to see or ask us to consider, they can send that to us anytime. If it's a street project or something like that, send it to Public Works Director Dave Brown. Any other things, they can send it directly to me. But yeah, it's a time for presentation. It's a time for contemplation on the board's part. It also gives the residents a chance to come in and ask questions if they'd like to, or raise concerns, or just generally ask about our budget process.
Well, and a good way to stay abreast, again, is even if you don't come to the village board meeting, you can watch them on the website afterward, and you can see some of the discussion. You can see how some of the things unfold, like some of the list on the capital improvement project, the wish list, I guess you could say, and how that comes to be. That helps kind of inform the whole process.
We actually will post the preliminary budget that the board will see sometime around the middle to end of February. And that will be on our website several weeks before the hearings that will take place. So the residents will have an opportunity to go through the same document that the village board will see, and the same document that the staff basically will work off of as they discuss their individual department budgets with the board. So there's plenty of opportunity for folks to take a look at it, to dive deep into the numbers if they really want to do that, or read the summaries that the staff prepares for the individual departments, and then reach out to me, reach out to the finance director, or reach out to the individual department heads and ask questions if they'd like to.
And the goal, the deadline is May 1, because that's when the fiscal year starts for the village. Correct.
A lot of communities are May 1 to April 30th. We've been traditionally that for years. There are a few other communities that do calendar year budgets, but that's primarily geared towards property taxes. So.
Well, as we talk about budgeting, revenue, that's half the budget, and there It's always interesting because Vernon Hills is a little different. First of all, there's no property tax for the village. If people look on their bills, yes, they may pay a lot of property tax, but none of that's going to the village.
That's correct, and it has been like that for a very long time. Our revenue comes primarily from three large sources. It's sales tax, which makes up about 55% of our revenue, income tax, and then motor fuel tax. So those are really our big three. Sometimes when we have a good year, you'll see building permit revenue pop up, like for instance this past year when Melody Farms got under construction, we saw some very large permit fees come out of that, but that's more the exception than the rule. So those are really our three big sources of revenue. Sales tax obviously is generated when people shop locally, and we encourage people to do that whenever we can. Income tax comes through the state, so you and I and everybody else who earns a living pays an income tax. The village receives a piece of the income tax on a per capita basis. That money comes directly from the state. And then motor fuel tax, every time you fuel up your car, there's a couple of pennies or whatever the rate is now that is paid to the state. The state then remits it back to us.
So it's sort of like a sales tax in that anything within the village limits, those gas stations, that's the ones we get the motor fuel tax?
Actually, it's statewide, and we actually get a per capita number statewide. So that's a nice benefit to have. I mean, we have some other taxes that are in place. We have a utility tax on telecommunications. So you make a phone call on your cell phone or your house phone or the like. There's a small piece of that will come to the village. Again, it goes to the state and then comes back to us and the like. So. Those are our primary revenue sources. Those are what the revenues that we use to operate the village to provide the services that we have to provide to the community.
And when we talk about services you have to provide, we're talking, snow plowing, police protection, very basic.
Absolutely, and our largest budget is the police department. Obviously, they provide upfront services to the residents. Largest department by far. Public Works is second, and everybody feels their impact. As we probably know right now with the weather as it's going, Public Works is out plowing and maintaining trees in the summertime and providing setup for the various village events and everything else that goes along with their operations.
So when we talk about this too, most of those, like you talked motor fuel tax and those things, that's the same for all villages. The difference being we don't have the property tax that most municipalities would have. That makes us a little different. We're going to continue with that. But then we have questions, same as other municipalities and other organizations, in that kind of I will call it a crisis. In Springfield, the statewide issue with economics and the budgeting and the financial issues that we've had statewide impact Vernon Hills, just like they impact a lot of other organizations, especially when money first goes to the state and then it comes back out to us, and sometimes it just doesn't come back out.
Yeah, they collect a lot of money for municipalities, and as a part of the most recent budget approvals, which took place in July of 2017, they decided to keep 10% of the income tax that they typically pay us, and they charged a service charge or handling charge for the telecommunications tax, which they kind of didn't tell anybody, and the like, coming back to the municipalities. So from that perspective, we are projecting that we're going to lose about $600,000.
$600,000 just because of a different, formula sort of what they keep to do the pass-through.
Yeah, and again, the pass-through was, home rule sales tax. We have 0.25% on everybody's sales tax. So that comes back to us. They took 2% of that. They took 2% of the telecommunication taxes that are charged. And then, like I said, they took 10% of the income tax that came back to us. And, I understand why they did it, but what they're using our money for is to balance their budget. They're using it to pay their bills that they have failed to either pay or acknowledge that they, to pay for years. And so from that perspective, we are estimating that we are going to permanently lose $600,000. So we have to find way of offsetting that. And right now, we're currently looking at, cost savings from projects and, those types of things that where we can save things or reduce expenses. That's what we're doing right now. Going forward into the next budget year, quite frankly, we're going to have to find ways to raise revenue. Sales taxes right now are flat. Obviously, they're challenged by anything that you buy online, for instance. The municipalities don't get a piece of that in the sales tax forms. So we're going to have to find ways of figuring that out. I mean, some people will say, well, why don't you reduce costs? We will absolutely look at that as a part of the budget process. But, unlike some industries or the like, when we hit the recession, we were impacted significantly by that. And I will tell you that we have not ramped up our staff since that time. I think we've added 1.5 full-time persons during that period of time. And we've operated our budget on a pretty tight shoestring type budget. And so from that perspective, losing this kind of revenue is significant. I mean, that is, and you want to equate it, that equates to approximately 3 full-time police officers, or about a half a dozen full-time public works employees and the like. So it's a significant number that we're going to have to find ways to offset and or find additional ways to increase our revenues.
Well, and that's that challenge is taken into account. We are still a AAA rated, fiscally sound. We're one of the strongest municipalities around.
Right, and that's really a key component for everybody to understand. Maintaining that AAA rating allows us, when we go to issue debt or bonds in the market, that allows us to obtain the lowest possible interest rate on those bonds, which saves us significant money over the life or the term of that bond. Losing that AAA rating would be significant to us. And you're talking about several $100,000 potentially of financing charges that could be experienced on a bond issuance that we would do. So from our perspective, while we don't have property tax, which a lot of municipalities use as a part of buttressing those interest rates and that AAA rating, we have a large reserve. Fund reserve that we have to maintain, and our bond agencies have told us that we have to maintain those, and that's what we've been doing, and we're very fortunate to be able to do that. But we just can't go willy-nilly spending money to do a project or buy something on a one-time basis. We have to be very cautious. We have to be very calculating in what we do, and I compliment the board and the mayor about the processes that we go through and how we do this, and we are fiscally conservative, and that's our mantra, and that's our direction going forward, and we'll continue to go in that direction. So,
well, as we talk about budget and revenue and everything else, one of the things that feeds into the health of our community is the commercial, the retail, the industrial, the office, the residential, including expansion and things like that going on. What does the economic development front look like?
Yeah, overall, from a retail perspective, it's actually very good. With the new developments that are ongoing, I mean, everybody sees Menards going up right now, and we're looking forward to having them open sometime in the early to mid-spring of this year. So from that perspective, that's a real positive. We'll be monitoring, obviously, that to make sure that we're seeing new growth in sales tax revenues versus a spreading of that between Lowe's and Home Depot and the like. So, but we're very excited to see them moving forward, and the building is beautiful. I mean, they've done a great job with the architecture and the like, and we have a lot of work to continue to do with them. We still have more landscaping and screening to do with them, but it turned out quite nice.
And when you speak of that, right near in that area is also Aldi, who's doing a lot of work where we're holding them to a higher standard, and they're actually coming forward with brand new Aldi type plans they've never used before.
Yeah, it'll be another great addition to our area up there adjacent to Menards. They really did step up with the architecture, and they've worked really hard to get the site plan worked out together. So we're excited to see them move forward, and anticipate seeing construction going on sometime in the spring and going up I think relatively quickly because it is such a small site and the store itself is not very large. So from that perspective, it should be up rather quickly.
But it is beautiful, and that's what they said. They put a lot of extra time into it. And when we talk about, too, let's just to back up, sometimes it seems counterintuitive to us as residents why all of the same sorts of retail would want to be together, but they tend to glom together to then encourage everybody to come to that area. So it's kind of a marketing strategy that has played out positively.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see it in various types of other retailers. Fast food is the typical example that people use with McDonald's and Wendy's right across from each other and the like, and that is very common. And with regards to our area, you see the various levels of stores that provide different services, and Aldi's will be a volume discount operator. You have Mariana's right across the street, which is a full service type of operations, and then ultimately with Melody Farm, you'll see Whole Foods come online, and they're actually trending towards a more of a middle of the road type of operation for their business model going forward, especially after Amazon acquired them earlier this year.
It's kind of exciting. There's a lot of transition going on. Let's talk about Melody Farm. And that's it's been a unique piece of property that people have eyed up for years and years. So the fact that there is something going into there, I mean, this is a big volume, big ticket project going on.
Yeah, John Cuneo many years ago had a gigantic price tag on it, and he was charging over $1 million per acre on a gross basis, which means buildable land or unbuildable land, you were paying $1 million. So at one time, the price tag on that property was on nearly $54 million. Nobody could touch that, and since that time, the prices have evolved, and we are now where we are today, which was a unique partnership that was put together between the village and Cuneo and Regency that has allowed this property to go under development. And as everyone has seen out there, we're now seeing buildings coming out of the ground. The building right on the corner of 60 and Milwaukee is the new Whole Foods. Everybody goes, boy, it's really close to the corner and everything like that. And it is, but it is the prime corner, and Whole Foods wanted to be there. And then you'll notice the shopping center and the inline stores that are being developed behind it. And you're going to see Nordstrom Rack, you're going to see REI, you're going to see Home Goods, and a number of other retailers along there that are going to go into place. And at the north end, you're going to see Focus Development's new apartment building. They're, again, under roof right now with the first part of it. And all this will come together nearly at the same time in the fall of 2018. With the first stores and the first residential units being available, and it will be rather quick. Things will open up, and a year from now, in Christmas time, Christmas of 2018, that place will be rocking and rolling with shoppers and carolers and events and activities and things like that.
Well,
So
they did design a lot of kind of green space and gathering space.
yeah, they absolutely did, and that's part of the attractiveness or the uniqueness that they've created within this development itself. So it'll be really fascinating to watch it develop over the next 6-8 months, and when warm weather comes back, that will really begin to take shape itself. And in the meantime, we're going to be dealing with obviously winter weather, but we're also going to be dealing with road construction. As you know, the project required significant road improvements to the intersection of 60 and Milwaukee, additional turn lanes in all directions, additional both left turn and right turn lanes, and expanded paving going north on Milwaukee Avenue were required. It's about $5 to $6 million worth of improvements or road improvements that have to be done as a part of this project. And there are temporary traffic signals that are up there right now, and they will be up there until probably the end of the summer. But long term, we believe that the improvements that will be done will serve that intersection well and serve that development well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's a huge part of it, just because it hopefully with extra turn lanes will just keep everybody moving where they need to go, so it'll benefit everybody.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's Melody Farms, and that's their kind of the retail, but it includes the residential. And when we talk about residential, if we go up the street a little bit further, Pulte Homes is really moving along in that that northern part of the the Cuneo Mansion project.
Right. Yeah, that's it's come together really quick. I mean, in the fall of 17, they broke ground, and now you can see paved roads and entrance monuments, and they've got several models that are now in construction, and people can go up there and actually, begin to order their homes or pick out lots or whatever it is. So it's a fascinating process. That's phase one of 2 phases, and phase 2 will come along once they've got a good sale going in phase 1, but ultimately Pulte will own and develop that entire north half of the Cuneo Museum and Garden site.
Once you saw like the trees move around in the ground, it sort of started taking shape. It was hard to visualize that before because it's kind of an interesting place. So that's Pulte's area up there. Now, I also want to go down the street, down Milwaukee over to 45. Port Clinton, there's been some changes. At one point, there was some vacant property, and that was going to be quite a dense high-rise. The developers, the owners, have decided to switch that up.
Yeah, the property was sold to the Taxman Corporation about 18 months ago, and Taxman during that time has looked at some different development options, and they are settling or have settled on doing 18 townhomes and that. Similar in architectural design to the other townhomes that are on that property. So they're working on the architectural design, the layout, and the like. So we'll see that evolve over the winter. They've also requested some assistance for the village through the TIF district that's down there right now to help offset some of the costs related to some on-site improvements that they need to do. So those details are still ongoing and still being worked out. But at this point, that's the change.
That's the way they're leaning. Rather than going up high and dense, it's going to be a little
the original building was a 6-story, 66-unit condo building, and it would have mirrored the other building that's out there right now. So what we're going to see is a significant reduction in density, a totally different type of residential unit being developed there, which we think it will ultimately better serve that area than the 66-unit project that would have been could have been done by now if Opus had moved along on it years ago.
So we're getting somewhere on that. River's Edge condominium, which is kind of across from American Hotel Register, they were looking to build a second building. Is that still something they're talking about?
Still working on it. It was a 2-building project similar to the town center project. 40 units in each building. The first 40 units were built. Obviously, then the economy crashed. It has 4 sale condo units in it. They've come back with a second building concept, same architectural elevation, same square footage, but they wanted to break it into 60 apartment units, underground or first floor parking and the like, and with units that would be substantially smaller though than the for sale units in the other buildings. So we're still working on the details with them on that. We've had several meetings with the residents in the other building and the developer to try to work through some of those issues and the like. So this will come to fruition if everything goes well and they continue to move forward with this. We'll see construction start, I'm guessing, sometime in the late spring, early summer.
Well, another one that comes to mind is the Oaks rental community. That's the rental community on 45. That's largely complete then?
It's complete. There's no other further construction that'll take place. In fact, I think we've returned the bonds with them, so it's completely done. Yep.
Okay. And then down the street a little bit, there's something that was called Woodland Chase. It was going to be at the corner of Fairway, I guess that's Buffalo Grove Road, yeah.
And 45, yeah. That project has received approval. They have a new developer that's going to move forward, so look for the signs out there. We anticipate that there will be on-site prep work being done during the wintertime, vegetation removal, some building demolition, and maybe some underground work related to utilities. And then full construction will start next year, but we'll watch for construction to start coming out of the ground sometime in the spring or summer of next year, actually summer of next year.
So it's interesting because, we thought we were kind of built out residentially, but we just named quite a few projects that deal with the residential sector. Retail's looking good. A lot of our corporate partners, we hear Rust-Oleum is expanding, some of these other places, they're staying put in making even a bigger footprint. Before we went on camera, you did mention that one of the places that's a little soft is office space, that there's just a lot of it.
Yeah, there is, and as you said, the people who are here are staying put and expanding. We are seeing outward migration of some of the businesses that are in some of the corporate parks, and that's just, I think it's a function of the economy right now and the opportunities or different work opportunities that were presented out in the market. Industrially, we're actually doing pretty well, from what I understand, and there's a pretty strong market, especially for the smaller and mid-sized types of industrial and service type corporations. So from that perspective, it's kind of a mixed bag from that side of it. And that's always been the case here. I mean, we have great office parks that are well maintained, and the buildings are well maintained and taken care of and the like. And, so we compete well within the market, but, it's still a challenge. I mean, a lot of the baby boomers are leaving the workforce now, or doing different things, and the millennials have a different approach to their working in their offices and the like versus working on their phones or working at home or working in shared spaces and the like. So, and we're feeling some of that as we go forward here. So.
That's interesting. That's a lot of information you've provided us with. And there's always information on the website. And again, like you say, just when it comes to budget issues or retail opportunities or moving your organization here, the Village Hall is a good place to stop and ask questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, reach out to me, reach out to Joe Carey, who's the Assistant Manager and Director of Community Development, or the staff, any of the elected officials. Be happy to answer your questions, or if you have a comment or whatever it is, send it on, and we're happy to forward it to the folks and the like. So whatever we can do to answer questions for folks, we're happy to do it.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time. And remember, everybody, watch for things like those budget drafts and all that stuff. Listen to the board meetings. Even if you don't have time to come, watch them online. Ask questions. Send an email. And
we'll have information also in the e-newsletter. So if you haven't signed up, please do.
It's easy. Just sign up, go online, put your email address in, and there it goes. So.
Yep.
Excellent. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you to your staff and to our elected officials for working on this. I know it's a busy time for y'all. And we will keep our eyes and ears open, and we'll come back and talk to you again soon.
Great. Thanks, Lynn.
We are at the Vernon Hills Public Works facility, out in the garage with all the equipment that's ready for winter to come our way. We're with Public Works Director Dave Brown. And I know this is something, snow and ice and winter and roads and all that stuff is something that's kind of like the number one thing you think about in the wintertime over here with your crew. But you're ready to go.
Yeah, we are absolutely ready to go. We're very blessed with last year. Essentially, we got 29.5 inches of snow. We average around 35. So it was a little bit below average winter, but we'll take one of those year after year after year.
Yeah, and because it was a below average, I heard you when you always present to the village board. One of the things you said is you didn't go through your salt last year, so you were ahead of the game already.
Yeah, we have all 3 bins full, so they're 400 tons each, so we have 1,200 tons of salt. And we have some surplus from last year that we didn't use. You may recall last year we went over 2.5 months without plowing, so we'll take that. We are experiencing more larger snow events. Last year it really was a large snow event in November and then some towards the end. So we're dealing with more extremes, at least last year. We don't know what's predicted. We don't know whether or not the snow is hitting while we're here. On overtime, is it weekends, is it all coming all at once? So those are the important metrics that public works directors look at.
Well, it's just like when they do all the snowmageddon talk, when the weather people come on. It really depends on if it's coming during the rush hour. Anything is brutal. 1 inch can be brutal, but so it's the timing thing.
Yeah, and absolutely. So we are prepared, and we're ready for it. All of our equipment has the plows on. We've went through training with our staff, and we'll see when it gets here. We'll be ready for it, and we'll fight the storms.
There you go. Let's talk about, too, a little bit. One of the things, like you talked about staff, you like to be very coordinated with, for instance, HOAs and some of these places. They have their own contractors. Those also tend to be the places where you've got weird little pieces of street, like cul-de-sacs and things that are harder for the big plows to get in and work well. So that's one of those things you like to work together.
Yeah, absolutely. We do not have a large enough staff to address all of our snowfall needs. So in terms of that, we do contract for our cul-de-sacs, and the James Martin company is helping us with that. But we also reach out to the Homeowners Association. They have their, especially for townhomes, they have their own driveway contractor who is plowing their driveways, and then we come by and then we plow and create windrows. And so it's more trying to help with the choreography. And so we try to work with the HOAs. We find out who their snowplow contractor is. We ask them if they have a reasonable price. We contract with them. So one contractor is in that area, and we don't have to worry who's in there first, who's in there last.
And when we talk about the streets, so we just talked about like some of those more private streets around the townhomes that they're taking care of. You're really taking care of village streets. So we also want to always point out some streets are the state's responsibility, some streets are the county's, and then the rest are ours. But can you point that out just so like if somebody's mad about a bump of ice someplace, it isn't always Vernon Hills, even if it's in Vernon Hills?
Sure, we work with other entities. The ones that have numbers on them, like Route 21, 60, and 45, those are the state highways. Butterfield Road is a county highway, and then the local roads are maintained by the village.
But I know too that you guys work together. It's not uncommon to see you guys out there throwing some salt where it needs to be thrown, regardless of where it is.
Yeah, we support one another. It's important nowadays that we do that. If there's a turn lane into a subdivision and they're not out, we notice that other entities aren't out, it would not be unheard of that we would drop a plow and try to help them.
And when we talk about the streets in town, how do you quantify that? I mean, like how many, is it by miles of streets? Is it by number of blocks? Or how big is our Vernon Hills village that you're trying to keep cleaned up?
So we really break it into different quadrants. So we end up breaking it into zones that are manageable. What we aspire to do is when the snowfall ends, that we have sections small enough that we're able to tackle that within a 4-hour time frame once the snow subsides. It's really difficult. I know with my house, you have, before I go to bed, I will shovel my driveway. And then overnight, this snow may occur, so then the city needs to get out and plow the roadways. And so when I wake up, there's a windrow at the end of my driveway. I look at it, it's like, why does this happen? Well, why it happens is the city doesn't have control over when the snow is falling. When it gets to a certain accumulation, we need to react, and sometimes that's overnight while I'm sleeping or other people are sleeping.
When we talk about that too, you always suggest if you're going to throw your snow, throw it away from the direction of traffic, throw it down the street. That will help a little bit with the windrow.
Yeah, I think shoveling is, kind of a neighborhood experience. People do it differently. My neighbor comes over and helps me with the snow blower, and so, we tend to, talk a little bit and have fun, but we help each other. What's important is if I were to throw my snow out onto the roadway, then when the plow goes through, it's going to carry it over to my neighbor's driveway. So we don't want a condition where it's icing the roadway because it's almost impossible to get up once it bonds to the pavement. So what we really look to do is I wouldn't put my snow and shovel it on the uphill side of things. I want to look at the direction of travel, and once the plow would pass my driveway, I want to put it on that side.
And as you said, though, but don't put it in the street. There are ordinances about putting the snow in the street for one thing, but it causes icing conditions. It doesn't come up. You'll have a giant bump at the end of your driveway for all winter. So that's another key. Don't put the snow in the street.
Yeah, we appreciate any cooperation with that. It's just a good housekeeping practice not to do that, and it does bond on the pavement, and the person doing that usually is the person who would suffer the most for it. So it's just a good idea not to put it in the roadway, try to put it within the parkway.
Another thing that can help you guys out is, and it's by ordinance as well, if after there's 2 inches of snow, we're to get our vehicles off the street so that you can plow. So again, it's by ordinance, but it makes good sense. We just want everything out of the way.
Yeah, so again, the police department will enforce that. I think they have a softer approach to it. They may notify you first, but not necessarily. If it's an emergency, they will call a towing company and they will have you towed.
Well, and especially when it's these snow emergencies, besides, by the time you come home from work, if your car was out there, who knows if you can get to it anymore, because sometimes we've been known to get a lot of snow. And when we talk about snow too, you guys are working quickly. You do have to get some level of speed to push the snow. So I know we always caution children and parents to please teach your children to be extra careful when it's plowing time.
Yeah, we're dealing with a very big piece of equipment. We have one stand sitting right behind us, and they're heavy. It's difficult to see at times. They sit up very high, and if kids are tunneling into a snowbank that's in the roadway, making igloos, that is a very unsafe situation. I really cringe when I see those. When we see that, we do stop and we talk to the parents and just notify them of our safety concern. But it's really just not a good idea to build snow forts within the roadway.
Well, that, like you said, that snow coming off is heavy. It's a heavy load that comes off that plow, and that's what collapses things and everything. But that's heavy snow. Is sometimes our mailboxes aren't as sturdy as possible, so you've got to plan for that as well.
Yes, so we do a pre-check. We'll go around all of our roadways. First, it trains the drivers, it prepares them for their routes, but also we check the condition of the mailbox. And so we try to do an outreach up front as far as the condition of the mailbox. Sometimes it's just a matter of putting a nail in to sturdy the mailbox. A lot of the damage that we have when people say that their mailbox was hit by the snowplow, a lot of it is just because the door of the mailbox is open, we hit the actual door and it spins the mailbox off the post. It's not necessarily that we're hopping over the curb, it's actually because of that mailbox door being open. So that's one thing I always check. I make sure that my mailbox door is closed, and if the spring is loose, I replace my mailbox.
And if something does happen, there's information online, or call Public Works. You can get a temporary mailbox brought out too.
Absolutely. If there are any issues with your mailbox, please contact us. And if you could contact us promptly, we can set out a temporary mailbox so they'll still get their service. And that's how we're able to help. But contact the Public Works Department. We'll share our phone number if they don't have it, and we'll get back to them on that.
Exactly. Well, and when we talk about snow preparation, we're standing in front of a big piece of equipment here that we've kind of gotten used to. Before something happens, before the big events come in, oftentimes we'll see you out there spraying the roadway, and we see those little lines squiggling up the road. Can you tell us what we're standing in front of right now?
Absolutely. There's a number of tools in our toolbox. Previously, entities just put down rock salt. Rock salt only is effective to certain temperatures. When it gets colder, rock salt does not work. So we put additional chemicals in to help treat it, which lowers its it improves its effectiveness at lower temperatures. And we also go out with an anti-icing program, and so when we're predicting icing conditions, we'll go out and put down beet juice. And so when you see those lines, it's that we've been out looking that there's potentially a storm coming our way. What it really does is it butters the pan, so it's just easier for us to remove the ice, and it doesn't bond to the pavement, so it's very effective.
And beet juice, so nothing wrong with that. So
Yeah, from a Lake County lakes management standpoint, they go and sample our lakes, and we continuously find one of the impairments is salt. Salt getting into our waterways is making our lakes more saline, and so it does have some really adverse impacts to our lake and habitat.
Well, that's the snow story. We also have the holiday story, and I know you guys at Public Works, one of the services you offer is at the beginning of January, you come around and you'll pick up trees and mulch them and recycle them. So.
Yeah. Yes, although the waste hauling contract does allow this after our 2-week period, our Public Works Department does go out and there's a regular schedule that we'll post, but we will go around 2 different laps around town, and we'll collect the holiday trees and we'll dispose of them properly. After that period of time, they can work with their waste hauler, and they will also collect the trees. But we wanted to, have that initial outreach, and we will be providing that service for that initial 2-week period, as we have in the past.
Yeah, it's a nice green thing to do because you chop them up, it goes to the mulch pile, and everything's good. So the only thing to remember is take the tree bags off, take the ornaments off, take the lights off, just have it be just tree out there.
Yeah, as green it can be. It helps our machinery when we put it through the chipper, and it helps the environment when we recycle them.
Excellent. So thank you for doing that. And that schedule's online or up here on the as you're watching this. If you've got more questions, if you want to understand how the process is going, if you want to just give them an attaboy after a big, you guys do not mind somebody saying it actually worked well. So, but if you want to contact Public Works, you can email Dave Brown. You can call over here. Look on the website for more information. You guys are available all the time.
Yes, especially during the winter.
So thank you to your crew for being ready, and hopefully it's a nice, easy winter.
We all hope for that. Thank you.
Well, we are getting to that time of year when sometimes the weather's not so great, driving's not so much fun, the traffic's always a little bit iffy. So this is a good time to talk about a service that we have here in Vernon Hills that's quite unique. It's the free Vernon Hills Senior Shuttle Bus. And we're with Mary Gilraith, who knows how to get you signed up for that. And Mary, when we talk about the Vernon Hills Senior Shuttle, I mean, it's been going on for years, and you've got some faithful users.
We do, and it's a wonderful benefit to the seniors that we have in town. If I can just talk a little bit more about it, we have this shuttle that runs Monday through Friday, and we will take seniors 55 and over to retail shopping in Vernon Hills and to doctor appointments within certain boundaries. If I can, expound further
Let's
on
talk about that with the boundaries, because we've got a lot of doctor places in town. They're all over the place, but how far do you go for that?
We do. Well, we will go to doctors within Vernon Hills. We have a small area in Mundelein and also Libertyville. 176 is our border on the north side. Route 45 is the border on the west. We do go to Condell Hospital, and we do doctor transportation on Mondays, Wednesday mornings, and Fridays. Now, the bus starts pickups at 8:30 in the morning. I would suggest if you were making your doctor appointment, probably do it between the hours of 9 and 1:30, because the bus really runs out of our Public Works Department, and it needs to be back by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We do, on Wednesdays, we only do doctor appointments on Wednesday mornings. So in that time slot, I would say don't do anything in the afternoon. No schedule for doctor appointments in the afternoon.
And you've got people that they schedule per the bus, and they just use the bus to do on their regular, and sometimes we all know there's a lot of doctor visits that can start happening.
There are a tremendous amount of doctor visits. And when you call us, we are going to need to know the time of your appointment, the address of your doctor or facility you're going to, and then obviously we'll ask your name and your address. We will try to fit your pickup time in as close to your appointment as possible, but we do it on half-hour interim slots. And the bus has a leeway time of 15 minutes before or after. the bus can get a little crowded at times. Sometimes it's not crowded at all. But with doctor appointments, as soon as you have a doctor appointment and you need transportation, give us a call as quickly as you can so we can try and fill that slot for you. We also do retail shopping in Vernon Hills only on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Wednesday afternoons. And same thing, our first pickups start at 8:30. Bus needs to be back to Public Works at 3 o'clock. So, hopefully by 2:30, that's the end of his day and returning people back home and things of that nature.
And when you say retail, so then if I know I want to go to Target and somebody else wants to go to Walmart, you just when we call, we say, here's me, this is my address, and I need to go to Walmart sometime today.
Right, and we try to arrange the schedule so the drivers aren't running all back and forth around town, but it's very difficult too. So if we have somebody say they want to go to Mariano's at 10:30 and somebody calls and says I want to go to Mariano's at 11 and there's still a slot at 10:30, we'll ask them, can we put you in at 10:30? That way they're picking up 2 people to take them to the one location. Then with the shopping type of thing, when you think you're going to be done, you can tell the driver yourself what time to pick you up, and he'll come back and pick you up. Or you would call us back at the Village Hall to let us know you're ready for a pickup. Same thing goes with your doctor appointment. If you don't know how long it's going to last, you call us back, and then we call the driver, tell him that you are ready to get picked up.
Yeah, because sometimes the doctor appointments, especially, you don't know, or even shopping, you don't know how long it's going to take you to get through the checkout.
Exactly. I mean, some people just go in for lab work. They know they may be in and out in 15 or 20 minutes. Sometimes you can be sitting at a doctor's office for over an hour, as we all know. So it all varies a lot.
And the key is, this is free. It's a service provided by the Village of Vernon Hills through, our sales tax dollars that go to work for us so that you can get around and be comfortable in your own home.
Right. It's a wonderful service. What we ask is you call us at the Village Hall, 847-367-3700. We really prefer to be called before 4 o'clock. You need to schedule it at least a day in advance. If you have a doctor appointment coming up, say in 1 or 2 weeks, call us right away. That way we'll try to get you into a slot as close to your doctor appointment as we can. The reason we say call us before 4 is because this bus runs out of our Public Works Department, which is actually on Greenleaf and Butterfield Road. So we need to get their pickup schedule sent over to them at the end of the day. And we're busy here. We have a lot of, this isn't our main job. We have a lot of things we have to do. So always try to call us before 4 so we can get you on the right for the next day.
Yeah, and get that schedule over to them so they're ready in the morning when they go to start the pickup.
Exactly.
Well, so this has been going on for quite a while, and it's a great service. And anybody 55 and older living in Vernon Hills, excuse me, but there are people that need something else, because it might be that this schedule or this, the staying in Vernon Hills doesn't help. So I wanted to run through some other things. We don't have like a bus system like you do downtown. But we do have some options, and one of those would be if you live south of 60 in Vernon Hills, that's called Vernon Township. Vernon Township has a dial-a ride that you can call, and it's a very economical ride. You can get it to go to for instance, the train stations in the Vernon Township area. Similarly, Libertyville participates in a thing where you can get an economical ride through Libertyville dial-a-ride. And both of those, if you look on the township websites, if you're north of 60, look on Libertyville Township. South of 60, look on Vernon Township. The PACE bus system has a kind of a more shuttle bus that goes around, and you call, kind of like the senior shuttle, but anybody can use it. And you call and you schedule, and they'll help you do that. And you do that through pacebus.com. That's an option for you. And then you've got the fixed route. That's what we see when we see the big bus that goes to the mall. Hawthorne Mall is kind of a hub point. You can go south from Hawthorne Mall, excuse me, I keep using the wrong name for them, or north, like up to CLC. And you've got the Metro train service that you can use. So sometimes you have to put these pieces together to get where you need to go. It's not your traditional public transportation here in Vernon Hills. Right. But there are options available. So if the 55 and over senior bus through Vernon Hills doesn't help, check out pacebus.com and some of these other things. And there's people that can put together a pretty good transportation.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't always accommodate everybody's needs. I do want to bring up also, you do need to be able to get on and off the bus yourself. We are wheelchair equipped, and the driver will secure the wheelchair, but you do need to be able to get on and off yourself. We would suggest if you did shopping like at a grocery store, you need to limit the amount of packages you're carrying because you need to carry them on the bus yourself also, and we don't have room for, a lot.
And on the 55 and older, but you have to be able to get them back in your house too.
That's correct, right, yeah.
It's not like this is where it's like a driver that literally comes to your door and. So how do you, by the way, when you say that, I'm going to be watching out my window, but how do I know when the bus is coming? Just I have a window to watch for?
Oh, yeah. Well, you if you think if we say we'll pick you up at 9 o'clock or 12 o'clock, just be looking for the bus. He will come, he's not going to ring your bell or anything, but, he'll pull up in front of your house or whatever building complex you're living in. You need to be looking for him. But like I said, there is a window 15 minutes before or after. We don't know what traffic's like out there. It's getting crazier and crazier. We don't know weather conditions could slow him down. So trains, that's true. And we do have a train right here. So, you have to be watching out for him.
So that's why it's good too when you schedule, like you said, when you know the time you need to be there at your doctor's, give yourself some leeway there.
Yeah, and and sometimes they're 5 or 10 minutes late or whatever, and we get phone calls, or to make sure they're on the list and all that. But we need to be a little, practical about it too.
There you go. So there's a lot of options for you. So do your research. People can call you at the Village Hall, and that's where. And not only just to sign up, just to learn more, to make sure you understand.
Sure.
Do you go to this doctor's office
Exactly,
and that
right,
kind. So you're there to help.
Yeah, we get a lot of those calls. Do you go here? Do you go there? So yeah, just give us a call and we'll tell you if we can accommodate you or not.
Okay. Well, thank you. And so, as I said, as the winter weather, I think I'll be riding this bus around a little bit more. But thank you for taking the time. Thank you to everybody. Whenever you call, you'll probably talk to Mary or Monica or Lisa. These guys will help you. So thank you for taking the time.
If you have comments or questions, please contact Mike Stordo at 847-918-3560 or email mikes@vhills.org. Thank you for tuning into the Vernon Hills Update.